What's going on YouTube? Jay Miller Speaks Out here, back at you guys with another video. I'm your host, Jay Miller. So I was sent a very interesting link from a sub of mine up on YouTube from Facebook by the name of Jason. So before I get started with this video, I'd like to give you props for sending me this very interesting link. Now, the ironic thing about this link that was sent to me just a day or so ago, I was looking at actually watching YouTubers videos, and this particular YouTuber, he's one of those ones who leans to the right. He's a right-wing conservative, and he gets up on YouTube like a lot of other right-wing conservative social justice warriors, since that's the new term, social justice warriors, but he's a social justice warrior for the right wing. And he was showing the FBI.gov crime statistics up on race. And, of course, the video was about, talking about how black people have this high crime rate. And, we're always playing, the victim card and all this type of stuff. Now, if anybody has done any research or knows anything about, America, as far as when it comes down to the black community, they know that the government has time and time again done things to, destroy the black community, cause division in the black community, put drugs in the black community. And this is what this article is talking about. Now, when you have drugs and, poor education, just lack of resources in a community, yes, there are going to be, more things that happen as far as, crime in those type of areas. It's just a known fact. Now, I'm the type of person, you guys know that I've never been in denial about, black people issues, because every group has issues. But at the exact same time, though, I know enough research about this country of how, the government has constantly done things to sabotage the black community. But the minute, you try to speak this, to people and try to tell them about this and tell them to do their research, the same exact, I'm just going to go ahead and direct this at, many of you, claim to be, right-wing conservatives, all of a sudden black people are claiming victimization. We're just playing the victim card. But, what I notice about people, that, are a part of any political group is that, you tell one-sided stories. You tell your part of the story that you want to, get out there so your crowd can follow you, but you don't, tell, the whole part of the story. You're leaving out, things, what I'm saying? It is what it is. It's just a known fact. Now, yes, there are, problems in the black community that obviously affect, the black people of the black community in a very negative way. But there have been also things that that the government has done, to disrupt the black community and so-called keep them down. That's why you have some black people that have the saying, the white man is keeping us down. Now, in my own personal opinion, of course, I don't want to say that, white people in general just keeping black people down. But you know what, though, there is a system in America, and there is a racist system in America. And this is what systematic racism has been about. And in this article, here you have a person that is openly admitting that, they basically targeted black people with drugs. So let's go ahead and read this article. It says, Nixon aide reportedly admitting drug war was meant to target black people. Now, before I even start reading this, guys, I'm tired. And, so if I freaking, misspell or mispronounce names, please forgive me. It is what it is. Just go ahead and correct me up in the comment box. So it says, an eye-opening remark from a former aide to President Richard Nixon pulls back the curtain on the true motivation of the United States war on drugs. Now it says, I want to say Ehrlichman. So if I pronounce this guy's name wrong, go ahead and correct me. But it says, John Ehrlichman, who served 18 months in prison for his central role in the Watergate scandal, was Nixon's chief domestic advisor when the president announced the war on drugs in 1971. It says, the administration cited a high death toll and the negative social impacts on drugs to justify expanding federal drug control agencies. Doing so set the scene for decades of socially and economically disastrous policies. Let's go ahead and scroll down. It says journalist Dan Bam wrote in the April cover story of Harper's about how he interviewed Ehrlichman in 1994, who worked on a book about drug prohibition. Ehrlichman provided some shockingly honest insight into the motives behind the drug war from Harper's. It says, "You want to know what this was really about?" He asked the bluntness of a man who, after public disgrace and a stretch in federal prison, had little left to protect. It says the Nixon campaign in 1968 and the Nixon White House after that had two enemies, the anti-left and black people. So you understand what I'm saying, right? We knew we couldn't make it illegal to be either against the war on black. But by getting the public to associate the hippies with marijuana and blacks with heroin and then criminalizing both heavily, we could disrupt those communities. What did it say, guys? It says we could disrupt those communities. It says we could arrest their leaders, raid their homes, break up their meetings, and vilify them night after night on the evening news. Did we know we were lying about the drugs? Of course we did. He's openly admitted it. Here he is, guys. Says, did we know we were lying about the drugs? Of course we did. Yeah. So let's go ahead and keep on reading. It says, in other words, the intense racial targeting that's become synonymous with the drug war wasn't an unintended side effect. It was a whole point. It says, the quote kicks off BAM's Legalize It All. It said the cover story for Harper's April 2016 issue. Read the whole article, which is a comprehensive argument for the drug legalization here. It says BAM explained to the Huffington Post why he didn't include the quote in his 1996 book, Smoke and Mirrors, The War on Drugs and the war on drugs and the politics of failure. It says there are no authorial interviews in Smoke and Mirrors at all. It's written to put the reader in the room as events transpire, BAM said in an email. Therefore, the quote didn't fit in. It says it did change all the reporting I did for the book, though, and change the way I worked thereafter. He says the quote does, however, appear in the 2012 book, The Moment, a collection of life-changing stories from writers and artists. BAM also talked to the Huffington Post about why Ehrlichman would confess such a thing in such blunt terms. It says it taught me that people are often eager to unburden themselves once they no longer have a dog in the fight, BAM said. The interviewer needs to be patient sometimes and needs to ask the right way, but people will often be incredibly honest if given the chance. So right here again, and I'm talking to, you people who claim to be, how I sit there say right wing or whatever. As you guys know, I don't deal with politics or whatever, but you guys, this particular group is always the one who's saying that black people are always pulling the victim card. Well, tell me this. Why is it that you guys go ahead and report certain stories, but you don't, you report half stories, half truths. You talk about the crime, but you don't talk about how the crime got there. You don't talk about what the government did, the dirty tactics the government did to, break up black communities, destroy, the mother and father in a lot of the families, especially the father, taking out the father out of the homes, creating certain programs to where if you wanted government assistance, the father couldn't be in the house. You guys don't talk about that type of stuff. So therefore, you remove the father up out of the home, which everybody knows once the head of the house is gone, you chop off the head and the rest of the body falls apart. When you take the head up out of the family, the rest of the family falls apart. It is what it is. When you don't have a two-parent household, that breaks up families, which causes a lot of problems, which you see right now in the black community. Now, I've never been the person who claimed that everything is white people's fault. White people created all these problems. No, but many of, white people, I'm not saying all, but some, as far as when it comes down to the people who work for the government and things like that, over the years in the United States have had a hand in disrupting the black communities. It is what it is. Even with Tulsa, Oklahoma, when black people try to thrive, then you have the government, who jumps in and does things to disrupt the black communities, which makes them eventually fall apart. It doesn't matter what they try to do. It's always the exact same thing. This is why you have some black people out there who always claim that, the white man's keeping us down. Now, of course, not all white people are keeping us down. Black people have, a lot more options today, but this is where that term comes from. This whole thing, as far as the government putting drugs into the black community is nothing new. I come from a family of drugs. Drugs destroyed my family. Drugs is the reason why that me and my siblings ended up in foster care. I was in a foster home 10 years of my life because of drugs. Destroyed my whole family, my uncles, kids, my cousins, destroyed our whole family, you know? So here I am, trying to build a new family and make sure that my son doesn't have to go through the things that I had went through. But I'm just going to go give you guys a quick example of how I know that the drugs was planted in a lot of the black neighborhoods. My mother told me when crack cocaine came to our small city, she told me it was very funny how it came to the city. And my mom always told me that she always had very high suspicion that the government had a role in putting crack cocaine into the black communities. The reason being is that she said nobody knew about this drug. All of a sudden it just kind of just popped up out of nowhere. She said a few people in the small town, a small city where I'm from, all of a sudden these nobodies, these out of towners just came in and they had the drug. They had the drug and they was there for a while, and you can only get this drug from them. Then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, eventually these people that you can only get this drug from, crack cocaine, they disappeared. Now all of a sudden you got crack cocaine there, you know? She's told me before she died, I remember she telling me I just find it very ironic how nobody knew who these people were. They were the only ones who you can get it from. And then all of a sudden, people would get crack cocaine from these people. Then they were there for a while. All of a sudden these people disappear. Now crack cocaine is there. Now everybody's hooked and, people's kids are getting taken and, the CPS and all this type of stuff. Families getting broken up even more. In this situation, they were talking about heroin. Here you have somebody openly admitting this, and you're going to have somebody that's up on my channel who's going to thumbs down this video. They don't never have any, they don't have any explanation for this type of stuff. Now I want to ask you guys who so-called lean to the left, not to the left, but to the right, who always claim that black people are, trying to, claiming victimization. We're, just crying all this type of stuff. Why do you guys always talk about the high crime statistics, but you don't talk about the things that led up to these high crime statistics? Because black people, if you look up, in American history, black people have not always had a super high crime rate in the black community. You know what I mean? Real talk. So it's just it kills me how, there are people out there, they want to upload statistics and talk about certain things, but they never want to talk about what the government did. It's almost as if, I'm sure they don't want you guys to know that side. And the thing is, this is the reason why I get tired of even arguing over, these whole racial things. I was thinking about it the other day, it's a very tiring issue, because basically you're arguing with people who, especially the people who are on the right. Well, I'm just being honest. A lot of you guys, you pretend a lot and act like you don't know, what happened. And when people say, you can go ahead and open up a book, a lot of y'all don't sit there and tell people to look up look up these stories, because that then it's going to debunk what you're saying. I'm just being honest. I'm not a left wing or right wing. You guys know I don't even freaking vote. I don't care about none of you guys' freaking, political parties, because I think it's all a freaking joke in my own personal opinion because of this type of stuff. You know what I mean? And, it's just mind boggling to me how people want to sit there and argue over things. They tell half truths, but they don't tell it all. Now, I've never been in denial about the problems that black people have, but I know for a fact of what the government has done. All you have to do is research things and you can find this type of information. So I'm glad that, there's a subscriber of mine, Jason. I'm glad that you sent me this article, because it's kind of funny, ironically, that this was kind of up on my mind or whatever. And I thought about doing a video about it, but I was like, nah, I'm tired of, the race topics and things like that. Yeah, it gets tiring and stuff, because, you're arguing with, a group of people who want to claim, put out false statistics and false lies and just things like that. They tell half truths and don't tell everything. And that's what pisses me off. It's like, if you're going to talk about it, then tell it all. Tell it all. Don't sit there and just tell one thing to fit your narrative, because that's what a lot of people do. And it's like, they do it for their followers because they know people are not going to do research like this. So I'm glad this was put out, because this further proves a lot of black people's point of how the government has done things to disrupt the black community over the years. And this is actual facts right here. And there's more facts that even go way deeper than just this. You guys, let me know what you guys think about this story. Till next time, subscribe, peace out, and have a good one. Peace.